You're listening to the Jax and Gio show. Gio on my right.
Hello.
Hello. How do you do?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I do.
How do you feel after that break that the viewers only knew our... What am I saying? Viewers. The listeners. If the listeners can only know our pain of microphone problems.
Oh, jeez. No, actually. I hope they don't ever experience that.
Yes.
I hope you live a life full of functioning microphones and good health.
I could not agree more. I retract my previous statement. We're hoping we're coming in clear here. And we're in the second part of our show. And we are going to talk about TV, movies, stuff we've seen. We're going to give a little review here on the broadcast or podcast, wherever you're listening. Jackson, what have you seen of late? What has been your viewing? What have you been viewing as of late? What do you want to talk about?
Well, just recently, I'm pretty fresh off of finishing all 7 seasons of Sons of Anarchy.
7 seasons?
All 7 seasons, yeah.
Wow. Now, how long did it take you to binge, and how many episodes are in a regular season of this show?
Probably took me maybe 2 months at most. There's about 13 episodes a season. I believe there was one season in which there was one extra episode. It was a 2-parter season finale. But yeah, pretty much, let me see, 7, 13. I can't be bothered to do that math right now. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, about 13 episodes in a season. That's
pretty cool. Now, what is the main plot of the show? Now, maybe, I don't know if we have any hardcore Sons of Anarchy fans listening, but what's the main storyline? What's the main plot line?
More or less, it's the main character, Jax Teller, played by Charlie Hunnam. First episode, you meet him. He's in this motorcycle club, Sons of Anarchy, Redwood Original. The shorthand they say a lot as Sam Crow. Mm-hmm. And he becomes a new dad, and so I think he's in his early 30s when the show starts. I'm not sure if the timeline that the show follows is day by day, like, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
But pretty much the underlying theme of the entire show, more or less, is him just being a dad while being in this motorcycle club that clashes with other clubs and gangs and things like that.
I see. That's a very interesting plot. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Now, how long did the series run for? I remember it being a bit popular, like maybe 2-3 years ago. How long did it run for, and where could you have originally saw it?
It aired, I believe, the pilot aired in 2008, and the series finale was 2014, I believe.
Wow.
And it was an FX exclusive, I think.
I see. Now, that kind of makes me feel old, because I remember when it was wrapping up. The show was like finishing up. I didn't actually get to see it, but it's like, God, 2014. That feels like maybe like a week ago.
Right?
I remember hearing about it ending, but that's very cool. Does the show have closure to it? Is there an open ending, or if they wanted to, do you think they could expand upon the universe that they've created?
Well, there is a closed ending, but they have expanded on the universe. So the ending, I don't know, should I refrain from spoilers? I think I should.
I think you should refrain for our listeners, just in case.
Well, if you do start watching Sons of Anarchy, boy, are you in for one. You're in for a hell of. In for a hell of a finale. I have not bawled my eyes out like that in a long time. It was a very sad but graceful ending to the show.
Oh yeah.
But they have expanded on the universe. They've made a new show called Mayans MC, which is based off of the other motorcycle club that's pretty primarily featured, besides, of course, the title Motorcycle Club, Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
At first, I got to refrain from spoilers. But when you start the season, the rival gang is Mayans MC, and so they've now made a new show about that club.
Now, does that spin-off, does that take place like at the end of Sons of Anarchy?
Yes.
Does it pick up?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much. I don't know if it's at the very end, because I haven't started watching it. I've been made an effort to avoid it because I was like, man, I gotta finish watching this other show that I'm watching before I even think about going back to anything somewhat related to Sons of Anarchy. There's a song that plays during the end sequence of the final episode of the show, and I heard it. I didn't even listen to it. I heard like 2 seconds of it. And I was like, oh man, I had to fan my eyes. I was getting teary. I knew what it meant.
Oh man, I know it's so weird when you get emotional over a show, and like for me, it's like when I get emotional, I've cried at quite a few. I won't bring it up now. I'll bring it up in another episode. But I have gotten emotional over shows that people would, if you'd mention it, they'd get a little getting emotional over that, you know. But it's always when you think about it in theory, you're like you're going into it saying, am I going to cry over a TV show?
Yeah.
Not likely. And then you get into it and it's like, oh, like the fanning it down. And then it's like, and then you're just like, oh, my eyes, my face is getting all
I got
red.
something in my eye.
Oh my goodness. I've always, it's a feeling. And then it's like, you look back at it after you cried and it's like, you know, that was kind of nice getting a cry out of that.
It was too.
Yeah. It's not.
That was some, I was getting so red, and I was like getting seriously choked up watching the ending of Sons of Anarchy, that as soon as the final scene played out and the credits started rolling, I just burst.
Oh, no.
I couldn't hold it in.
Oh man, I know that feeling well, man. It feels, the thing is, as bad as it feels fantastic.
It does.
And I just, you know that when that happens, somebody has put so much heart and soul into a TV show. And it's like, and the thing is, it's especially with characters in the show. And it's like, I remember when I was crying, I'm like, I won't see these characters again. And it's like when you have that bond, it's almost like you knew the characters. Like you can carry on a conversation. Like you are a close friend with them. Oh, it's a great feeling.
And I can only imagine how people, like, in the case of Sons of Anarchy, felt when they started watching the show in 2008, and it took them 6 years to live with these characters.
Exactly.
Basically. And I watched the show in 2 months, and I was in shambles.
Yeah. Oh my, that must have been that, because it's like just the anticipation. Like that's what I love about stream. I'm going to talk about this. It's like with that, you can watch one episode after the other. And it's like, but when you're watching it live, you're like, I have to wait till next week.
Yeah. See, that's why I dare not call myself the seriously dedicated fan, because if I was, I would have been there day one. Granted, I was 9 years old when Sons of Anarchy started, and my parents would never have let me watch that show when I was 9 years old. Man, the stuff that goes on, and I'll very much back up this statement that my mother, who has seen the show, told me, in that it is much more. It has much more questionable content involving women than Game of Thrones.
Oh no!
And she told me, I was like, come on, it's more raunchy towards women than Game of Thrones. I find that hard to believe. It is.
Oh my goodness.
Take it with a grain of salt, though. You'd have to watch the show.
Like it's only a portion, of course.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
So, how did you watch the show? Did you stream it? Do you have like? I'm going to assume the DVDs. You're a big DVD guy.
Oh yes, I am. I have the first 3 seasons on like just regular DVD, and I had to go out and find them at my local library. One of them I found, I believe, season 4 at one of my local libraries. Nice. And I think one of my dad's friends has the rest of the seasons.
Nice.
And so we ripped them off of him.
That's good. That's a good share pattern. And it's like, I find the fun thing about having a show on DVD, because it's like you can go on, I'm assuming it's on iTunes or it's on some streaming service. You can pay like, I don't know, maybe $10 a season, then you have everything. But that's the fun of like getting stuff on DVD, because it's like you can say, okay, I got this one for myself, can lend second season off this guy, get this from this guy. Oh, it's fun.
I have a feeling you wouldn't watch TV shows as often as you'd watch like a movie.
Exactly, yeah.
Because when you want to rewatch a TV show, maybe that you're fresh off, if you go back to like that big finale that you want to live again. Man, I tell you, I didn't have the same extreme emotional reaction to the end of Breaking Bad like I did to Sons of Anarchy, but I watched all of Breaking Bad as well, and wow, if I could forget all of that show and relive it for the first time, I would be amazing. I prefer Breaking Bad. I didn't bawl like I did at the end of the end of Sons of Anarchy, like I did at Breaking Bad. But it's what I did at the end of Breaking Bad was just a big slow clap, pretty much.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal show.
Have you seen the ending? And I believe this was for a special TV broadcast, but the main star, Bryan Cranston of the show, he did a show called Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
And they made this special edition ending where he as the character, I believe is Walter.
In Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Walter White, yeah.
Walter
and the
White.
alter ego is Heisenberg.
Yes. And what happens is that he's in Breaking Bad, but then he wakes up and he's Hal from Malcolm in the Middle.
I think I have seen that.
And it's like, and I'm not sure, I think it was an actual thing because I remember when I originally saw this clip, it had a screen bug, like it was recorded from a TV station. But what happens is he wakes up and then the actress who plays Lois in Malcolm in the Middle is right beside him and he's explaining to her, oh, I had this dream. I was this drug dealer. I was selling, he makes crystal meth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Clarifying, he made crystal meth. I'm sorry, going off track, but he's like explaining to his wife that he's doing all this stuff, and then she's like, "Oh, you're having a crazy dream. Just go back to bed." And it ends like, I believe it ends like a Malcolm in the Middle episode. I think they play the They Might Be Giants thing.
No
Maybe it was an
way.
edit, but that. I haven't seen a lot of Breaking Bad. I do think it's an excellent show, but that at the end is just amazing.
That's
I love that.
funny. I think I've seen part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like to call going the extra mile.
Yes.
Like even if you're not a Breaking Bad fan or a Malcolm in the Middle fan, you have to admit that is fan service
cool.
at another level.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So I'm going to turn the tables here. And I'd like to talk about something I saw. I saw this about a week ago, but in a way I'm still recovering from it. In a good way. In like a way that what I saw was fantastic.
Okay, good.
I went to go see a movie called Weathering with You. It is a Japanese animated film, and I was blown away, if we're going off by the weather title.
Ha! Got him.
Got him.
Do tell, though.
It's a bit hard to describe, but I want, as I continue, it's a Japanese animation or an anime, if you use that terminology. But you want to take all your kind of stigmas of, I guess stigma would be the right word, about Japanese animation and like kind of throw it out the window. You know,
Okay.
People have this impression that it's this kind of like weird genre that's like appeals to a very niche, but it's not the case with this movie. And I kind of say that stuff, even though that kind of relates to how I got into it. But this is genuinely such a fantastic movie or an animated. I haven't had the feeling in a really long time of going to see stuff at the theater where I've left the movie and I've sat through all the credit sequence.
Really?
And and leaving the theater just thinking I could, as nice, I would love to see that again.
Yeah.
I would love to sit in there and just see that movie right again, second round. The movie's plot is a bit hard to describe, but I'll try to kind of do it. There's this boy, this male character who, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten some of the names. I've forgotten most of the names, which good reason to see it again. I'll take it. But there's this boy who moves to Tokyo and he's kind of, I wouldn't say hard on his luck, but he's having trouble finding a job. He's underage, and he's basically getting into one bad situation after the other. He's on, I guess, the verge of like he's living in like this tiny apartment, and he finds this through fate and a bunch of other events. He finds this this job working with a writer of this, I believe, a science magazine, and like they talk about weird anomalies, things that are happening, and through this another series of events. I'm not going to go in depth because I recommend you go see the movie yourself. He meets this girl and she has the power to control the weather. At the time that this film is taking place, it takes place in Tokyo, as you'd expect, but they're in basically this weather drought where it's been permanent rain. And it's just this awful weather. There's no sunshine. And upon finding this girl, she can control the weather. And throughout the film, they grow this bond with each other. there's a lot of stuff that happens, but stuff that I can't mention because I don't want to spoil the movie.
Spoilers.
Exactly. And it's just the ending hits you very hard. It's such a beautiful movie, and I can't recommend. I can't recommend a film enough, and I recommend if you have the chance to see it, you should go see it. I think it should be around for another few weeks. I am definitely going to try to see it again. I haven't been so like, and this, I guess this kind of sounds corny, but it's like, I really enjoyed this movie, and I haven't had an experience of going to the theater. I don't really go out to see a lot of movies, and I saw this as a special. I had to go to hitching back on the talk about OC Transwa. I had to go through a bit of bus hell to get to the station from Baseline. It was worth it, and it was one of like the best theater experiences I've had in a while. It's a very unique movie. It's a very heartwarming movie, and I think if you have the chance you should go see it. I was surprised to notice that this movie came out in Canada in January of 2020, which is when we're recording on right at the end of January.
Yeah.
But this actually came out a year ago. Well, not a year ago, but I guess half a year ago in Japan. It came out in July 2019. Yes. And I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't get it sooner, because the kind of setting of the movie is kind of like a spring kind of setting, and that's like it kind of comes out when it's like you look outside, like you're kind of in that universe, and you see kind of like those green colors, and then you go outside and it's like, oh, white sky.
Massive disappointment.
White sky, white ground. And I don't know. I still really enjoyed the movie. I liked the atmosphere that was around it. I liked the soundtrack. A lot of people would get turned off by thinking the fact that this is like a movie where they speak solely in Japanese and it's just subtitles. Mm-hmm. But don't let that ruin your experience. I believe there's a dubbed version that's also in the theaters. I did not see that yet. I'm not sure if I want to see it, because sometimes they say that it ruins the experience, but I particularly like dubs myself. But anyway, I had a great time. I'm kind of milking this.
No, go to town.
Oh, I'm going to go to town. But it was I kind of like I feel like I felt different after watching it.
Wow.
And I guess that seems really weird. It's maybe it brainwashed me. Maybe I want to maybe I'm going to buy the deluxe Blu-ray combo pack when it comes out at
it just wants your money
at HMV. And HMV, they don't know.
That's a taboo subject.
Sunrise Records.
There we go.
Only Canadians will get that. Or if you're from I guess Southern Ontario, Sam the Record Man. We're going through all those. But anyway, great movie. I'll probably go see it again. If you're going to go see it, people get turned off by the anime and they just think, oh, it's Japanese. Yeah. It's like,
it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, just throw it out the window and jump into it like just any other movie. Because if just that, and I remember I used to be like one of those people too. I think that's stupid. It's just a bunch of cartoons, and they make women have big boobs, and that's all anime is. But it's once you get into it, you can find some great stuff, and this is some great stuff. It is great stuff. What am I saying? It is some great stuff, and go see it if you can. And that's I'll end it off there before I blabber on more or I spoil the movie. There is, I will say, I don't know if we're going to do content warning. There is surprisingly some violence in it. There is there's a lot of guns in the movie. Well, not a lot of guns, but it's like one of the plot points is that the main character, I guess, finds a weapon and he uses it. Well, he doesn't kill anyone with it, but there's a scene where he uses it to save someone. He doesn't shoot anyone though.
Okay.
But that's a minimal thing, and I don't even know why I brought that up, but it's like it's still I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. I'm probably going to go see it again. But yeah, great movie. Solid 10 from me. And that's all I have to say.
Keeping this going on the anime a little bit, I am fully on board the Castlevania train.
Ooh, really?
Which is, of course, a series on Netflix, which I just happened to catch. I saw that season 1 was available maybe a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. I watched it's very short. I believe the episodes are only half an hour long.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched the first episode. I was in heaven. Now I suppose we'll give another content warning. Castlevania is violent, which is putting it hilariously mildly. But I like that stuff. I'm a big fan of horror. Some of my favorite horror movies are the Evil Dead films, those cult films like Dead Alive and things like that. And oh man, it's heaven for me. And to go on the kind of dubbed film kind of a theme that we had there earlier, I just recently watched a film called Train to Busan.
Oh, really?
Which South Korean dubbed. Actually, they didn't have like an English dub, like audio wise, but they had English subtitles. But it's a South Korean film, and it's
sure
about.
It wasn't North Korean?
I'm positive it's South Korean.
Okay, I'm just joking. Okay, I'm just joking.
I have it up here. I made sure.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but I made sure. South Korean, and it's about this guy and his daughter who were going to visit the daughter's mother, and this guy's, I believe, from the tone of the film, ex-wife, or the very least soon-to-be ex-wife, and they're taking a train to Busan, which is where she is, and in the midst of this, a zombie outbreak on this train, and there's zombies on this train, and you meet I think maybe 4 or 5 other characters, not really side characters, but supporting characters. That's a better term. And oh my goodness, it does such a great job of giving the audience almost one-on-one time with each set of characters, because there are sets really, and oh man, there's a kind of a villain that is purposely rude and nasty, of course. But oh man, it's so much more than a zombie film. Like again, you spend time with these characters. I think it's just about 2 hours long, the film, and it's oh man, I almost have no way of describing how it is without really spoiling anything. But it's so heartfelt. By the end of it, it's the first movie that made me cry.
Really?
Honest to God, it was the first thing in a long time that really made me shed tears. And it was a very nice ending. I will happily spoil that. It is a very nice ending.
That's good.
And it's one of the oh man, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I'm
gonna have to add that to my list. I'm convinced. I have to say, any film, and I'm gonna have to wrap this up quick, but any film that makes you cry or makes you feel sad is something that obviously has put a lot of heart and soul into it, and it's just I just love it.
And it's the first, just to finish this off, it was in fact the first, for lack of a better term, foreign film that I had watched where it was in a certain language. It probably would have ruined it to have like a dub over the audio. So I'm glad that there was just subtitles there and wasn't hard to follow, and it was all in all fantastic. At the very least, like an 8 out of 10 at the very least.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm gonna add that to my watch list.
Do it.
I'm gonna add that to my watch list.
You should too. Listening. And
we're hoping you can add us to your list. I'm going to wrap up the show. On behalf of me and Jack, would you have anything you want to say, Jackson?
Hey, well, this was fun.
It was very fun.
That was fun.
And
let's do it again sometime.
We're going to hope to do it again sometime, definitely soon. Hope you enjoyed the show. We certainly enjoyed recording it.
Oh, yes, we did.
And we're going to have an episode hopefully soon. We're not going to have a time frame. We're not going to.
That's right.
We're not going to give a deadline until it's done.
Oh yeah.
All right. And from Gio
and Jax,
we want to say thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Deuces.
I just gave a deadline. I just ruined it.
We'll do it again.
The end.